All right. What's up, everybody? Stuart Anderson. Welcome to Crown Council Live. It's been a few weeks. We've had some very successful and fun live webinars over on GoToWebinar during this normal hour. So we're grateful to be back with you, grateful to be on Crown Council Live. I had a few housekeeping items before we get started, but if this is the first time you're connecting with us on Crown Council Live, this is our weekly program where we connect with the Crown Council community. We interview and find stories from our own community and membership, things that are happening, incredible people and incredible things that are happening around the Crown Council membership. So whether that's resource partners or team members, live events, resource partners, doctors, we try to find all the great stories that motivate and encourage us to build a culture of success. So I'm Stuart Anderson. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I have a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. This is crowncouncil.com. And if you've been here before, I just want to navigate real quick to a place called My Directory. So if you go to your own My Directory after you've logged in, I want to make sure that you have the 30th annual event, which we are, 60 days away from being together, which is crazy to even believe. And this is the hub for the 30th annual event. There's a lot of things that are happening, but one thing for housekeeping is complete your office's RSVP information. So we have so many Crown Council offices that are attending, but in order to make this meeting as good as it can be, we need everyone to submit this information about your attendees. Who is attending, the name tag, position in the office, and then we have an app that will communicate to you at the meeting everything that's happening, whether it's pictures or speakers or any the schedule, important updates. So don't put the doctor's cell phone numbers here for everybody. Put everybody's individual cell phone so we can communicate everything that's happening inside the meeting. We are looking forward to being together. There's a lot more information over here, but if you haven't done RSVP, our office is going to start calling you, encouraging everybody to do this. This has to be done before we get together. So just a plea. I'm asking, you can do this. Any team member can do this as they submit your RSVP form. One thing that is super fun that's happening that we haven't done in a long time is golf. I mean, I'm going to be golfing, so there's 2 opportunities to golf at this fun event. Thursday morning, we're going to have golf at this incredible golf course. So if you wanted to golf with us on Thursday, you can. We also have our Top Golf at night on Thursday. So if you'd like to participate and be with us at Top Golf Thursday night, you also have to reserve that. And we hope everybody does. Obviously, it's not part of the official meeting. These are kind of add-ons. But my plea to you, I've been to the resort and it is so fun and so beautiful. And I hope we have great weather so we can all participate in the Crown Council Golf Tournament. So that's it for that. We'll have more to talk about the annual event next week. We've got awards to talk about next week, some of our speakers that are going to be presenting to us, and other things that you can do to prepare, especially what are you going to be wearing on our Barbie and Ken night. Oh, that's what we talked about yesterday as Crown Council team is what are we wearing for Barbie and Ken? So we're super excited to be together at the annual event. This is our annual gathering of all Crown Council offices, and we can't wait to be together. So, all right, I think we have our first guest. Shannon is going to be joining us. I believe she was in the waiting room, so I'll just kind of wait for Shannon to join us as she comes in. We have a really fun new relationship with Shannon, and oh, look how festive that is.
Isn't it festive?
That is not a virtual background. That is real.
It's the real deal.
That is so. Shannon, I always joke around that one of my favorite times during the stupid pandemic was when people would arrive. I had a couple of people arrive with like pyramids of toilet paper in the back as their background and
Oh,
other, so dumb. So what a
this-
that beautiful Christmas tree. Very good. We're,
but it's a fake Christmas tree. It's not a real tree, but you would never know.
but look at those lights. They're adjusting. They're very fun. Hey, well, we are very grateful to have you on. Thankful that you would be part of not only live stream, but one of our newest Crown Council resource partners. This is your first time on the live stream, so just so you know, everybody, we're going to be introducing Shannon, and then she's going to be sharing a few insider secrets. I guess we can call them secrets. Yeah. Tips and tricks. But before we do that, I mean, our relationship connects to TOPS. So our coaches and our TOPS team kind of brought us together. Can you share, Shannon? I asked her to prepare this, that if we were in an elevator and I was like, hey, what do you do for work, Shannon? Can you give us a brief introduction of what you do and how we would interact with you from a Crown Council membership standpoint?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm Shannon Stoles. I'm the owner of Preferred Search Group. We're a dental recruiting company. And so, what we do is partner with private dental practices across the country and help with hiring. Um, we place front and back office team members, which includes receptionists, schedulers, treatment coordinators, insurance coordinators, managers, and then assistants and hygienists. So, our goal is to make hiring as easy as possible while also providing the most qualified candidates for the position. We use a variety of strategies in our search efforts to make sure we're attracting the best candidates, even those that aren't necessarily looking for a new job or applying to your job ads.
Hmm. From my vantage point, Shannon, this is when Crown Council members talk about challenges. This is it. This is a huge time. I don't want to call it a time waster. I mean, it's just a lot of time and energy and effort. Can you maybe talk about your background? Like, why are you good at this? Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, it is. It's tough right now, and it's gotten really hard since COVID. So my background, I actually went to school to be thought I wanted to teach high school English, and so I went and got my degree in education. Moved out to Denver, Colorado, and got into recruiting within senior care, and really liked it. So I was hiring caregivers and office staff, and the company kind of transitioned. So I found myself working at a DSO in Denver, pretty big DSO. They had 67 dental offices across 3 different states, so Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. And I was a corporate recruiter and doing all of the recruiting that I'm doing now, plus our corporate staff. So pretty
Hmm.
much anybody that needed help with hiring, I would help with. I just didn't do any doctor recruiting.
Okay, very cool. And then remind me, because unfortunately I have forgotten, you're working with the TOPS team, but how? How did you connect with them?
Oddly enough, I was on a flight a couple of years ago, and
Okay,
you meet the best people on flights, and
nice.
kind of got chatting with one of the TOPS coaches, and she said, "What do you do?" And we kind of shared what we each do, and I said, I at the time I was working in senior care, and I help with hiring and direct hire placements. And she goes, "Well, I work with so many dental offices, and it sounds like you have a background in dental. I would love to get your card." And the
Huh,
rest is history. So I've
history.
been fortunate enough to work with several TOPS coaches and their clients, and have really, really enjoyed it. Getting back into dental and just working with private practice, it's a lot different than corporate dentistry, but recruiting is generally the same.
Very cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was on a flight.
Yes, well, actually, my husband had got upgraded to first class, and I'm like, "Can you trade with me? I want to sit up there." And so I'm glad that he did, because I was able to meet the TOPS coach, and like I said, the rest is history.
It's fun because there's no way TOPS coaches are sitting on flights not talking and asking if you have a happy dental home. And so it's good. That fits the profile. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Very cool. We talked, my goal, especially when introducing new resource partners to the Crown Council membership, is to build trust. So our membership can look at you as more than just a vendor, like a real partner in building their practice, in asking honest questions, in connecting with you in ways that are beyond like, well, Shannon's gonna just pitch me all the time. And so I asked you to come prepared today with um, things that you know that other people don't know because of where you sit. Like you have this incredible knowledge because all day, every day, you are looking at situations that most of us don't see. Um, so I guess let's start there. If you were to help Crown Council members know some of the things that you know that are like insider knowledge or tips. Could you start there? Like, what would you teach Crown Council doctors about hiring and their own team members?
Yeah, well, I've got some tips here prepared that I want to
Okay.
share. just kind of some basics. But I always tell people when I have a call, if someone needs help hiring, I like to make sure that this is a relationship and I'm adding value to you and hopefully saving you time and finding great team members. But also, I mean, you can do hiring on your own if you have the time. It takes a lot of time, but I want to partner with you if I can add value and if it makes sense. But if not, I hope these tips help if someone here has to make a hire soon. So, the first thing I would consider before making a hire is figuring out salary. So, what are you going to pay this person that you're looking to fill? I always recommend having a range because you're going to have applicants applying with varying levels of experience. So, you want to have a lower range for entry level applicants or new grads, and then kind of a higher range for those people that are applying with a lot of experience and skills. Um, you also want to make sure that your salary range is competitive with the market. So, with all things in life, you get what you pay for, and that is certainly true with employees. So, you kind of want to do your research on, what are people in the area paying for this specific position I'm looking to fill. You can look on Glassdoor for an average salary in your area. But what I like to do is put myself in the shoes of the candidates and get on job boards. So, let's say you're looking for a dental assistant, you would just get on Indeed, ZipRecruiter, type in dental assistant in your specific area, and then filter it by a 25, 30, 50-mile radius to see what people are paying. Indeed, I find is the most accurate because it has active postings of what the offices are currently paying, whereas Glassdoor might be 12 months old. So I think Indeed is always the most accurate. Another thing to consider is ask your colleagues. Maybe you have someone, that has a practice down the road or in the same area and they just made a really great hire. What were they seeing when they were interviewing people? What's kind of the going rate? Where did they find people? So kind of ask around. Right off the bat, you want to make sure you're offering a competitive and appealing job that will encourage as many candidates to apply as possible. I always say you want to cast the widest net possible and then filter through people from there. You also want to make sure that your current staff is being paid an appropriate rate. So you obviously can't bring on someone new at a higher rate than what someone that's been working for you for 5-10 years paid. So as much as we try to keep that information confidential, somehow pay rates always get brought up and disclosed, and it can cause issues in the workplace. And plus, your current staff may view your job posting to see what you're paying this new person. So you want to make sure that your current staff is being paid fair and you're competitive with the market. When we work on a job, we always post it anonymously so your current employees won't know it's you hiring. But still, I mean, that information always gets out. Along with pay, you want to make sure you're offering similar benefits as your competitors. So a lot of the practices that we work with are small businesses, and medical benefits can be hard to offer or expensive to offer. And while medical benefits are a big perk that people are looking for, there's a lot that you can offer in lieu of something like that. We have seen clients offer Sam's Club or Costco memberships, which is actually really appealing to people.
Yeah.
We've seen, paid time off is a big one too. We've seen free dental days. So I know most practices will offer for them and their employees, but we've seen some of our clients take it a step further and they will mark off 2 or 3 days a year to just take care of their employees and their family members. That way they're not running and kind of take care of all their needs. So that is a big perk that you can look at something you're already offering and just take it a step further. And then we've also seen some fun employee appreciation days where the doctors or the owners will take their staff to the spa or a concert or an escape room, and that kind of doubles as a team building experience too. So there's some fun things that you can offer, and you want to put that in your job description again as a way to attract the best candidates out there. When we take on a job or before we take on a job, we work with clients to make sure that their offer is competitive and their benefits, and we can work with them if we need to come up with a creative approach to their benefits package, we can work with them on that. And we always advise people like, hey, your pay is a little bit more on the lower end. Are you willing to come down on your qualifications just so we can find the right person?
Smart. So they don't have to do it. I mean, they would have to do all of that on their own. Otherwise you can help. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. And we'll see, we might start with the pay rate, and after a little while working on the job, we might say, hey, what we're seeing in the market is this pay is a little bit low. You know, can you go from 5 years of experience down to 2 or something like that? If they don't have the wiggle room to pay higher, we can come up with creative strategies to make sure. Our goal is not to just throw people at the job. We want to find good qualified candidates that will be with your practice hopefully for years to come.
Okay.
And so part of that is pay. But yeah, we can work with you to make sure that what you're offering is competitive.
Cool.
Another thing that a lot of people don't think of is employer branding. So what does your office look like on Google from a patient standpoint? Do you have really good reviews that you want to share with candidates? Could you use a couple of fresh reviews? Another thing people don't think about is what does your office look like on job boards? So when you create a job, let's say on Indeed, it does create a company profile for you. And so with that, current or previous staff can get in and leave reviews of what they thought about, you know, the management, the job, the pay, hours, benefits, all of that candidates can see. So could you use some fresh reviews on that? Could your current staff leave, you know, some reviews? Believe it or not, candidates are taking the time to research practices and learn about the offices they're applying to. And if they see that patients and employees are happy, they're much more likely to apply. So those are just things to think about.
Great idea. Cool.
And then along those lines is your website. Does your website have current pictures of you and your associates and your team and your practice? Are your social media pages up to date? We are looking at that. And when we work on a job, we always share the company website and social media pages if we can with candidates. It gets them familiarized with the practice and gets them really excited about the opportunity that they're interviewing for.
Cool.
So that's really important too. Next is figuring out how you're going to find candidates. Unfortunately, the job market has changed drastically. It's not as easy as just posting a job and sorting through a ton of qualified, great candidates. It takes a little bit more work than that. So some job boards are better than others for certain roles, and you want to make sure you're using the right job board or tool for that position. So for example, dental assistant jobs and most front office positions, generally you can get away with posting the job and sorting through some resumes and getting some good traction with that. But again, you have to be dedicated to following up with people and getting back to them in a timely manner. Versus like a dental hygienist, you're going to have to do a lot of sourcing and networking. Dental hygiene has been in high demand for many years, and it's gotten worse with COVID. So you're kind of spinning your wheels and wasting money when you post a job. Sometimes people get lucky and they get the right person applying to the job, but it takes a lot more work. I'm seeing grads that are getting job offers before they even graduate and take their exam to get licensed.
Wow.
It's crazy. So you just kind of have to figure out what position you're hiring for and what's going to be the best really bang for your buck.
Like high school football recruits.
Yes, exactly. And we have found that the really good candidates are currently working, and we call them passive candidates, so they're not actively applying to jobs. So what we do when we're working on a job is, of course, we post a job, but we do a lot more than that. We use a variety of search tactics to find and connect with those candidates, including connecting with local schools, joining social media groups. We do back-end sourcing on various job boards. If it's a clinical role, we look up licenses and connect with them through various channels. And then recently we've done some targeted campaigns, kind of known as geofencing, which is a recruiting strategy where a virtual boundary is created around a specific geographic location, and it allows us to target a specific audience in that location, which is really cool. Kind of creepy, but very cool. But it's good to figure out like what tool is going to work best. That way you're not spinning your wheels when you're recruiting or wasting money on job boards. And then my last thing to consider is have an interview plan. This is so important. You first want to identify who will be involved in hiring. Do you have an office manager? Do you have a TOPS coach or business coach, business partner, associate dentist that you want involved? And then what role will they play in the process? You also want someone spearheading the process. So someone that's going to be sorting through resumes, reaching out to candidates, scheduling interviews, and moving them along in the process. As the saying goes, time kills all deals, and we see that every day. Good candidates get offers really quick. So it's important that someone is managing that process. When we work on a job, we aim to reach out to candidates within 24 hours of them applying and then get an interview scheduled within 3 days from that point. Um, if you work with us, we help keep you on a time frame to make sure the process is moving along, and then providing updates to candidates along the way so that you don't have to, but that way we don't lose candidates to other offers as well.
Yeah.
You also want to identify the interview plan. So are you going to start with a phone screen? Are you going to do in person? Will you have them do a working interview? We work a lot with personality assessments to see how they fit in culturally and how they work independently and together. And so that has been a really great tool in recruiting as well. So where will that be in the process? So having a plan keeps the interview process running smoothly. And then it also gives the candidate an idea of what they can expect in the process. And we always recommend keeping the interview process to a maximum of 3 steps. So too many steps, you're going to lose out on good candidates, but not enough touch points with them won't allow you enough time to figure out if they're going to be a good fit or not. Again, when you work with us, we streamline and coordinate the entire interview process so you can focus on your job, and we keep candidates moving along in a timely manner. And then all you have to do is review the candidates that we've already thoroughly screened, and you just decide who you want to meet with, and we coordinate and handle the rest.
So good. I love that. The reason that I think it's so good is that you've kind of developed the science behind how it works through time, through process, seeing the things that work and what don't work. When you are hired, when someone's like, hey, let's do this, can you talk about that process real quick? Like, if a Crown Council member is watching right now, like, how does this work? Like, how much time I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, what's the balance here between a guy who's like, listen, I can just do this on my own. I don't need to like go through I don't want to hire someone and teach them all this. How does it work? If I called you today, Shannon, I was like, listen, I need 2 hygienists by April of 2025. I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, I always use the analogy. We had our house painted when we moved in 3 years ago. We easily could have painted the house. Did I want to? And would it have been good? No. And so it's the same thing with hiring. You certainly can. Do you want to? And you have the time to? Maybe not. And so what happens if someone gives me a call, they have hiring, they maybe don't have time, or maybe they've been hiring and they just haven't found the type of candidate that they need. What we do first is a meeting. So we'll get on the phone or Zoom and we'll learn more about your practice and the position that you're looking to fill. So the qualifications you're looking for, soft skills, any technical proficiencies, education, certifications, kind of get the whole bit there so we can start recruiting. And what we do is we start searching. So like I said, we post to job boards and we use all of our search tactics to make sure we're casting that really wide net to find candidates. And we are up in the state of Washington, so we cannot in-person interview everybody, but we do virtually meet with everybody, and we're making sure, one, they're hitting all of the qualifications that you're looking for, but one, that they present themselves professionally. They're not in their pajamas or interviewing in the bathroom, wherever it may be. They're professional and they present well and they're well-spoken and they're going to represent your practice well. And then we send over their updated resume and what we call a bio, and that's about 5 or 6 bullet points of their education, their experience, their strengths, how soon they can start, their target pay, and then what dental software that they're proficient with or that they've used. And then all the clients have to do is say, yes, this person I'm interested in meeting, or no, I'm not interested, for XYZ. If they're interested, we will handle the entire interview process. We'll work with their availability and coordinate the next schedule or the next interview step. And then if we get to a point where, we're all on board, we like this candidate, we do call references, and we also do guarantee the candidate, depending on the position, 30 to 45 days. And the reason being is we understand that people are investing in this person and paying a fee, but we want to make sure that they're the right fit. And I've had to do this once this year. Sometimes you interview someone and they're just a rock star and they get working and they're a completely different person. So we do offer that guarantee, make sure it's a good fit from the bat.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Connecting with you. Now what? Should I go to your website? Is that the best system or what's best?
Yeah, you can certainly go to my website. There it is right there. And then I'm happy if you share my email with me as well. It's Shannon SHANNON at preferredsearchgroup.com. I'd be happy to hop on a call and see what kind of position you're looking to fill and how we can help.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Shannon, way to go. I want to have you back on. I want to talk about, I have other questions about the interview plan. I want to know more about that. I think next time we have you on, we should talk about what you see offices do when it comes to the interview plan. That's super. If I was a doctor, I don't know if I would want to build that on my own. That seems like a lot of trial and error to figure out what works. So very
Yeah,
cool.
I'd be happy to come back. That would be a really
Cool.
interesting conversation.
Nice. Shannon, thank you. We're grateful to have you. With this video, I'll send out your contact information and connect you hopefully with the rest of the membership on the email network and on our weekly email next week. So thank you.
Good. Thanks so much.
Okay, see ya. So good. What a great service. All the things that I don't know if I would ever want to have to worry about uh, from from gathering all the competitive advantages, where to find the candidates, an interview plan. Grateful for Shannon and thankful that she's part of the new resource partner group. And actually kind of surprised we didn't have her before. So hopefully she'll be a great resource and partner to the Crown Council membership. Very good. So I interviewed Dr. Deborah Gray King for our new leadership podcast and for the live stream. And for the next 25 minutes, I have that interview that I wanted to play. She is so awesome. If you don't know Dr. King, one of our Crown Council All-Star members, her and Charlie Cooper, we're grateful. You know, Charlie, I just had him on. So I'm going to play our little interview here. And okay, all good. I'm going to push play. Let's hopefully I get the thumbs up. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Mentor of the Month interview podcast series. I'm Stuart Anderson, joined by Deborah Gray King. Dr. King, how are you?
I'm doing great.
You are in a beautiful location. That is not a virtual background, everyone. That is her beautiful lake house right outside Nashville. I have known Dr. King it's crazy how fast time flies. I've worked at Crown Council for over 20 years, and I'm sure we've known each other for that long. So
Yes.
I'm grateful for everything that we've shared, all the annual events we've been to, and all the Smiles for Life charity campaigns we've done together. So I'm grateful to interview you today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Grateful to have you. So Dr. King works out of Nashville, Tennessee, and owns the Atlanta Center for Cosmetic Dentistry. Dr. King, I'm not sure when I say, can you describe a little bit about where you are now professionally? Are you still working full time? Are you still in the practice full time? I don't know if I know what you're doing full time for dentistry. Can you talk about that for just a minute?
Well, I'm mostly working on the business now. My practice has been in Atlanta for 37 years. I graduated in 1987 and went straight to Atlanta. And the practice, as you said, is the Atlanta Center for Cosmetic Dentistry. And we're the only practice in the world that has 4 accredited cosmetic dentists under one roof. So we're real proud about that. We have a lot of talent under one roof. We got Dr. Charlie Cooper and Dr. Brett Reeve and Dr. Laura Justice and Dr. Jennifer Bissick, and then myself. So
good. I was actually going to say that you were one of and correct me if I'm wrong, you were one of the first to achieve that accreditation with the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry.
I was actually number 2, but
number 2.
Yeah. I was the second woman. I was not the first woman to become an accredited fellow, but I was up there toward the top.
So
but
awesome.
I missed it by 1.
All good.
Yeah.
And I know you've been on things like when I was just on your website for a bit, CNN, Extreme Makeover. And I remember there were years where I would fly Delta and you guys were always in the Delta magazines. I was like, oh, I know them.
Yes.
Would show it to the airplane. Like, I know these people. So cool what you've built there.
Thank you.
That's what I want to explore today is your journey through what you built, how you built it, how you do it different or the same, what you've learned, advice to young and up and coming young docs. So hopefully we can ask the right questions to kind of get that story out. But
Okay.
maybe talk about your biggest influences in dentistry. How did you decide that portion of your life to do dentistry? Were there any great mentors or people that you decided to follow as you entered this profession?
Well, Stu, I was actually the very first dentist or doctor in my family on either side. So I was the trendsetter there. And both of my parents have always been so supportive of me achieving whatever, whatever I set my mind on. But it was kind of a fluke, or maybe I should call it a God wink, on how I got into dentistry, because I was in high school and everyone's asking you like what are you going to do with your life, or what are you going to be when you grow up? And I didn't know. And somewhere I pulled out of the air, I was either going to be an accountant or a dental hygienist. And so my senior year of high school, I took accounting and I hated it. So it was like by default, I went into dentistry. So anyway, it's just funny. God had a plan, and it just worked out that way. So I worked for a local dentist the summer of my freshman year of college as his dental assistant. So I got to see what he did, what the dental assistant did, and what the hygienist did. And I was like, I think I want to go for it. I think I want to be a dentist.
Very cool. And when you started that journey in dentistry, were you like, this is for me, I can see my path, or were you like, let's just see what happens? I mean, how did you kind of get through those early years of dental school and your early life as a dentist?
Well, dental school is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. My classmates and I used to joke around. It was the best of times, the worst of times. But it was just such an accomplishment to learn such an incredible skill that you can turn into a career, and then also to develop lifelong friendships. Like some of my best friends in life are from dental school. In fact, I'm having dinner with one of them tonight.
Nice.
So so dental school is, it's a journey. There's only so much they can teach you. So, once you get out of dental school, you have to kind of decide what type of dentistry you want to be good at, because there's
Right.
so many types, and, you don't necessarily want to be mediocre in all the types of dentistry. Maybe you want to select a few and then put all your efforts into that. And of course, for me, it was cosmetic dentistry. I've always been an artist, and it just was a perfect meld to meld dentistry and artistry.
I love that. Yeah, we've talked about that before. Dr. Hornbrook shares that often with our young dentist program, and
Mhm.
even working with that lab together, becoming artists together. I love that.
Yes.
When you were looking at your own personal journey as a student, lessons learned. A lot of our listeners here are young docs. Anything that you would look back at it as a dental student and say, this is a must, or stay away from this, or anything that you learned that you could share there?
Well, I think the more you're in dentistry, you realize it's not just about the teeth. It's about the opportunity to change your patients' lives, to give a person health and give people a beautiful smile that translates to confidence and being able to achieve their goals. So it's not just about teeth. It's really more of taking care of the person as a whole. And I think that as you learn more and get more into dentistry, you realize what a rewarding profession it really is. You get to take care of your patients, provide a service, and very importantly, you can own your own business. That was a really big part for me. I grew up very middle class, never went without food or shelter, but didn't have a lot of the extras. And I really wanted to find a profession that I could make a difference in people's lives, but also be able to support my family and have, some of the, the nicer things in life.
Yeah. And you've done I always say that if the next generation follows you, then you've done a good job, because your son Gray is following you.
Yes.
I've got a few friends that their kids are like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that profession. So,
Well, it's
very,
a great profession. Yeah, Gray
yes.
is already a dentist. He's practicing with Dr. Dennis Wells in Nashville. And my daughter is actually in her second year of dental school. So two of my three are following, and Griffin, who's the middle child, he's in medical device sales in Nashville. So they're all in the healthcare professions.
Very cool. Good job.
Yeah.
Very good. A lot of docs, young docs have a lot of different next steps. So after school, can you talk about that journey for you, like when you graduated and maybe how you made the key decisions that put you in the right places?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Students nowadays are graduating with so much debt. And I think sometimes it forces them to make decisions because they've got to pay off the debt. But one of the things I did while I was in dental school, I worked part-time throughout the whole dental 4 years. I was actually a cocktail waitress in the lobby bar of the Peabody Hotel in Memphis. So that's a whole nother story we can talk about later. But I think that, to be aware of the amount of debt, I always recommend to young graduates kind of what Chick-fil-A recommends. Like Chick-fil-A is a private company, and they actually have all their young college graduates, the family members, they require them to go work at a business outside of Chick-fil-A for 1 year just to kind of see what the real world is like. And I really recommend that to new grads, is to find a job where you can develop your skills, your speed, your confidence for a year or two. And because, we know there's only a certain amount of education you can get in dental school. And then during those years, really load up on the continuing education. You mentioned Dr. Hornbrook. He has a young dentist program that is just phenomenal. And I recommend that to all the young grads as well, to get some hands-on experience. Anyway, but you asked about what I did when I got out of dental school. And I actually was an associate for a dentist for a couple years. And so that was kind of my apprenticeship. So I got my skills up, and clinical skills are so important. And new grads, of course, they have to focus on that because they have to be able to take care of their patients. But there's also so many other aspects, like the whole psychology of dentistry and the business of dentistry, because you can be really good clinically, but if you don't understand the psychology and you haven't developed your verbal skills, and you can't explain to your patients what you can do for them, and therefore they don't enroll, you're not being able to impact people's lives. And then, dentistry and having your own practice and your own business, there are a lot of business principles that you need to learn. And I was very fortunate when I was an associate right out of school with Dr. Ed Mills in Atlanta. He was in the middle of Quest, and you're probably too young to even remember that, but it turned into Fortune Management, which you've probably heard of, with Anthony Robbins. And so I was just so fortunate that I learned all these business principles. When I graduated from dental school, I didn't even know what overhead was. And so to the young grads, just know that, of course, you need to learn your clinical skills, but then you need to learn the psychology and your verbal skills. And then you need to also learn about the business of dentistry. So it is a lot to learn, but it's very doable.
It is a lot. And I look at Atlanta Center for Cosmetic Dentistry and I say, look at them, like, do what they do. This is such an awesome group of leaders and examples, not only in Crown Council, but just in dentistry in general. Can you talk about that for just a minute? Like, what are the guiding principles, your mission, your vision behind that business that you created? Whether it's, well, there's multiple questions here, but how do you guide your team? The patients, like, why do they come to you? Can we just talk about all of that? Like, what went into creating what you've built?
Well, one of the principles that I've had in my practice for decades is the principle of CANI, which is constant and never-ending improvement. And I got that from Anthony Robbins many, many years ago. And it really has been the backbone of our practice. And, if you're constantly trying to do things better, how can we make it more efficient? How can we make it more comfortable for the patient? How can we do this better? And even how can I lead my team better? How can I be a better role model and set the example? Because, you spend sometimes more time with your work family than you do with your real family. And so it's very important to surround yourself with a group of professionals that have bought into this principle of Kenai, and they're not just showing up and putting their 8 hours in and getting a paycheck. They're actually there to make a difference, and they also enjoy dentistry, and they want to be able to change patients' lives. So your team is a very important part of your success. I think most dentists would agree, I can't do what I do without my team. And so it's a process to create that team, because we've all had times in our practice where we didn't have that teamwork, or we had a lot of drama and that kind of thing. So it's a real you got to put a lot of effort into creating an atmosphere and an environment where people want to do what you do, get the dentistry that you can provide. And you mentioned, like, why do patients come to our practice? Well, I think that it's several things, but we have the clinical excellence. We've chosen to have the credentials and be good at what we do. But then we have a talented team. We have the facility. When you pull up to our practice, you can kind of tell that we probably have done it once or twice before. So we're not going to be treating
Not
you like
not a mobile unit.
no, it's not a mobile unit. So anyway, but it's a lot of things. Like it's not just one thing, but it's focusing on a lot of different aspects.
Yeah. It's I love how you said early in the interview here that learning that it's not about teeth just in general. I think that summarizes a lot of the success that you've built, whether it's team communication, the location, how the experience of the patient, how much time you spend training your team, and then just being a leader. Dr. King, you're just it comes from the top, the attitude of the team and the other doctors that you work with. And I think that attitude comes from you. So it's awesome to watch.
Thank you.
When you look back, so your professional career, anything that you do different, anything that keep the same? I know it's a tricky question, but with times that are changing, but any like top 3 things that you're like, oh, I did this right, I would definitely do it again, or anything that you do different?
Well, I have always been in a group practice. I have friends that have had successful solo practices, but being a woman and a mother, it was very important to me to be able to have someone else there that I could run ideas off of, the camaraderie covering for me when I had to, be home with my family. So that was one thing that I am glad that I did, is I've always had at least one other dentist working with me. And I think that when you can develop a practice where it's a win-win and you can work as a team, it really, it's just a really nice environment where you have each other's back, and you can brainstorm on what's the best way to do this difficult case and that kind of thing.
And when you are thinking about what you wish you would have known, is there something that you've learned over the last 37 years that your time traveling back to Dr. King, what would you say to yourself early on in your career?
Well, there's a lot of things. We kind of laugh around my office sometimes because we'll be talking about brainstorming, and I'm like, okay, not that I'm not open to new ideas, but we've done that several times over the last 30 years. And just trust me, that's not the route to go. Like, I have this institutional knowledge. So, I'm definitely open for new ideas. And I think that when you surround yourself with people who have the same vision, you don't have to always agree. Like, I've had she was my consultant and then turned into my CEO. We worked together for 10 years, never had a single argument, but we didn't always see eye to eye, but we respected each other enough to be like, well, what about this? And I see what you're saying, but I kind of think we should do it this way. And we were always able to come together and come up with the best solution. So, what our goal is to have every decision be a win-win-win, a win for our patients, a win for our team, and a win for our business. And when you can find that answer to the whatever dilemma it is, that is a triple win, you can feel confident it's the right decision. Whereas if it's a win for one person and a lose for another, you might need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how we can do it.
Yeah, really smart. Any examples there? I mean, is there anything that you do that you guarantee like a win for your patients? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, it's funny that you asked me that, because one thing that comes to mind, and I think a lot of young dentists are going to be at least thinking about this, is how you have a fee for service practice and you get your patients to pay up front. I just recently gave a lecture just this past month, and I actually put a picture of a red Mercedes convertible up on the screen. I was like, this was my dream car all through college, all through dental school. If I could have a red Mercedes convertible, and I was driving a junker at the time. And so fast forward 7 or 8 years into my practice, and I'm cleaning up all the accounts receivable, because I was doing what I'd been taught, collect half at the prep and half at the seat. And you find yourself with a lot of uncollectible, you did the dentistry and you did it well, but you're not going to get the money for it. And I realized I was going to have to write off $150,000 worth of accounts receivable, and that would have been my Mercedes convertible. So the reason I tell that story is, like, one of the things that you can learn from, learning patient benefited verbiage, like, how can you collect the money up front and it still be a win for the patient? And so what we did is we explained to the patients, like, what we do is we collect the money up front so that on the day of your treatment, we can focus on your comfort and the results. And I just think that's the most perfect example of how it's a win-win versus, only a one-sided win.
I love that. Yeah. You're like, listen, you don't want to have to worry about paying me the rest of the money. Yeah, that's
exactly. Exactly.
I love that. Very cool.
Yeah. And then we can have them on Valium and get their massage and just focus on all the good stuff the day of the treatment.
Nice. I love that. Dr. King, I look at you as a real leader in dentistry. I don't know if you look at yourself that way, but there are not a lot who are like you. And I think that it's important for young dentists and doctors around the country to look at your example and your leadership. When you look at dentistry, did you have that goal? Did you have a goal to change the face of dentistry, or is that something that you kind of put in your mind to say, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do it better. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Well, I don't think it was ever intentional, because, like, I just was a country girl from Tennessee. Like, I when I graduated from dental school, I had a really thick country accent, and I was very naive, and I think what happened was I just had such a drive to be better, and that whole constant and never-ending improvement really resonated with me. But it's a real honor to have someone like yourself view me that way. I hope that I am viewed as a leader. I want to be a leader and inspire others that if I can do it, you can do it, kind of thing. But it doesn't just come easy. You know, I always told my kids, if it was easy, everyone would do it. So, you know, it is a lot of hard work and, you know, a lot of continuing education hours, you know, hundreds and hundreds a year. And you know, a lot of just always brainstorming, how can we do this better? But dentistry is just such an incredible profession, and I just so believe in it. It's a profession, like I said, you can change people's lives, but you also can do it within the hours you have available. Like if you need to be home when your kids get home from school, or you don't, very rarely do you have to go in on Christmas Day for an emergency. So, and you can own your own business. So there's just so many aspects of dentistry that is just so incredible. And, you know, my first job out of dental school, my boss told me that it's so much easier to find someone who has done what you want to do and emulate them instead of trying to recreate the wheel from scratch. And so I think that might be one of the things that I would say to the young dentist is to find dentists that are doing what you aspire to do. And, you know, dentistry is such a great group of people. And, you know, I had so many mentors when I was right out of school. Gosh, Larry Rosenthal and Jeff Golub Evans and Ron Ashley, and like these older dentists like opened their arms and like, here, let me teach you how to do gingival contouring, and come up and see my office and I'll show you how we do it. And they lectured, and, you know, so I was just able to learn so much from the icons of that era of dentistry. And, you know, and I guess that's kind of what my goal is in my stage of dentistry now, is to be able to help that younger generation to have an incredible career in dentistry.
Nice. You're doing it. Thank you. That's a great ending. We're grateful to have you here. Thankful for what you shared. And I know that the Young Dentists, so every year, you know, we bring 50 new young dentists into the Crown Council. And I try to always explain to them, you know, we didn't hire Dr. Hornberg to come and teach this group. This is something that he wants to do. And I feel like the older generation of the Crown Council membership are just kind of waiting to give, waiting to share and pass it on to this new young generation of dentists. So I'm thankful for you and your example in doing that. So anything else? Did we miss anything else that you wanted to
I think we covered it all.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Hopefully we can see each other soon. And I'll make sure that this includes your contact information. Is that something that you want to put out there
Sure.
to young docs? Okay. I know that a lot of young docs love to reach out, especially now in the last couple of years. You know, 50% of my young dentist program has been late female doctors, which are so good and so fun to have as a great influx into the Crown Council membership. So you're their leader. Just take the reins and do it.
All right.
All righty. Can you hear me? Very good. That was good. 25 minutes with Dr. King. Grateful for the time that she spent with us, and so thankful for all that she's done as a leader at Crown Council. As we talked about, you can see how influential she is, and we're grateful to follow her lead and her team's lead. So thankful you would join us today. I know we had 2 guests. Next week, we'll come back with 3 or 4 guests that are already planned to be on our live stream. We're grateful for you either tuning in now or tuning in recorded or just being part of this great community. So thanks for tuning in today. We'll see you next week on Crown Council Live. Thanks, everybody.